I have a super exciting episode for you guys today where I'm going to be reacting to the George Janko interview part 2 with Andrew Tate, where George asks Andrew about his weed smoking in regard to using weed as a reward at the end of a long day in order to turn off his brain and relax. I think this is a very common question that anyone who struggles with weed addiction or who smokes weed eventually is going to ask themselves. Should I keep smoking? Is it okay to use it this way? Is it not? What we're going to do is we're going to watch this clip together, and then I'm going to provide George with 4 points of feedback as an ex-smoker and as a certified addiction recovery coach who, by the way, only used to smoke weed at night to relax the same way he did, and hopefully give some insight on this topic. All right, let's watch the clip together.
Right now, there's this thing on my table. It's called marijuana. Okay. I'm addicted. I have an addictive personality, but I use it to my advantage because if I'm addicted to something and nobody else can tell, I've never had a problem with it because I've never had something that was bad for me. Because everything that I've ever wanted was good for me. And that's good to carry me through those days that I don't want to do it because I'm addicted to it. So I'm just like hammering it out. Marijuana for me is my break because my brain just goes off. So at night I like to unwind and smoke a little bit. I'm scared that it took over my life where I can't even, like if I go one day without it, I have gone a few days without it because I can't even smoke here. And it doesn't affect me anymore that way. But my dad said this, he goes, you have a problem with moderation. Should I just give it up completely, marijuana completely, just go through the bitch of it, get rid of it, or should I teach myself moderation with it? Well, then I also don't have any, like, I don't drink. I don't go to clubs. I never even liked going to clubs when I was single. It just doesn't entertain me. I don't have like an outlet. I don't even smoke cigars, but I'm opening up a cigar lounge with my dad in Arizona. Shout out 24th Street, a cigar lounge. That's actually pretty cool. But I don't even fucking smoke. I did it to honor my dad. It's me and my dad's thing. Okay, smoking's the only thing where I can hang back and just fucking chill, dude. Should I feel guilty about this? Should I get rid of it? How do you feel about it?
It's an interesting question, but then you have to analyze what you're doing it for, because even the reason you just described to me would put me off doing it, because we're obviously different people, but you said it stops your brain working at 1,000 miles an hour. That's a gift. Why would you want to turn your brain off? Think of all the thoughts you haven't had. Think of all the things you haven't done that you could have done. Why do you want to relax and chill so badly? Why don't you want your brain working at optimum efficiency all the time? Why don't you read the dictionary? Learn another language? Why don't you start another business? Why do you want to chill? That's the first.
You don't chill, dude?
Never. So that's the first.
Okay, let's dive into this topic because I have a lot of things to say. The first thing that I'll mention is when George was talking about addiction and him having an addictive personality and that working to his advantage in life, what he was actually referencing is the addiction mindset, i.e. the name of the recovery coaching company that we have. Addiction, when driven in the right direction, can actually be a blessing. This is probably in part what landed him this opportunity to interview Andrew Tate. This is what has landed him a 2 million subscriber YouTube channel that's fairly newer, I guess, or fairly newer on the scene when it comes to YouTube since his separation from Logan Paul. It's this obsessive compulsive behavior that can actually be a gift, the addiction mindset, when used correctly. Now, that's what he is referencing. Now, what I want to point out is George said that has worked to his advantage in his life, especially from a business standpoint and other standpoints. Why in the world would you want to try and practice moderation when it's that obsessive compulsive addiction that has gotten you to where you're at today with a lot of the business success that you're having? Why would you want to backpedal and practice moderation? In my point of view, nothing good comes from moderation. If you look at people who dominate in their industries, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, these people know no form of moderation. They don't have it. They're not moderate people. So why would George, I made a video on this about myself before, why would I want to try and practice moderating my life when I could be busy out there expanding on it? Why would I ever want to do that to myself? In fact, I think practicing moderation would go against everything that has gotten George to the point that he's at right now in his career. And I actually feel that moderation would set him back significantly. And I think it would be a very, very painful experience, but not a type of painful experience that comes with purpose. I actually think it would be to his detriment. Why would you want to reduce yourself to that? So that would be the first thing. Continue to use that addiction mindset to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. Don't try and dampen or stunt the growth of that brain that you have. And that's exactly what Andrew Tate was saying when he was saying, look, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to shut your brain off? Now, I can actually answer that question, I think. I've never spoke to George, but I have a guess. Obviously, he has separated himself from Logan Paul and Logan Paul's Impulsive Show and all of that stuff. And I have a feeling that that decision was weighing on George for a prolonged period of time. So the question that Andrew Tate had is, why are you shutting your brain off? Why are you trying to unwind? Why are you trying to do that? I would guess not that long ago that George had a lot on his plate. He had a lot on his mind. I'm sure there was legal ramifications to this transition and all this stuff. He obviously has different opinions than Logan Paul on things, yet he was continually on his show for a period of time as he was preparing to leave. I think that he was trying to maybe escape or dampen those thoughts. This is a complete guess, okay? And this is where I think he was smoking weed to escape. Now, my question or my presentation to George would be okay, you're off of that show now. You now have your own thing. You're now completely working in your own realm, in your own space. I agree with Andrew Tate. What is it that you're trying to escape from at this point? Because everything that you're doing, you are actively building. You are actively creating. So if you're in the process of creating something that it is that you want to escape from, maybe that needs to be assessed or just looked at differently or just thought about. Because I think what you'll find, George, if I were talking to you right now, or who's ever watching this, I don't think that you actually want to escape anymore or escape those thoughts as you once did when you were in a different environment, in a different situation, if that makes any sense. And I think you're just carrying that behavior or that thought pattern over. Complete guess. This is a complete guess. Okay? Now, I have a few other points here that I want to make. If you need to ask the question, is smoking weed or marijuana a problem for me? There's a good chance it's a problem. And then if you have to justify your actions by saying it's my outlet, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go to the clubs, I don't do these things. If you have to justify the behavior to yourself or whomever it is you're talking to, I think it's definitely a problem, because people who don't have a problem or who don't consider it a problem, they don't think about it as a problem, and they certainly don't spend time trying to justify it. Let me give you an example. I'm not going to spend time trying to defend going to the gym, eating healthy, partaking in prayer and practicing faith, right? I don't need to question whether or not those things are good for me, and I don't need to justify to other people why I do it. I might explain to someone why working out's important to me. I might explain to someone why my faith is important to me, but I don't need to try and justify it. And this is where I just question, is smoking weed really a problem for you, or is it not? This is for George or who's ever watching this that can relate to think about. Next, I'd highly recommend, and I'll link it in the video description, watching my interview with Dr. Anna Lemke, the head of Stanford Medicine's addiction centers and stuff like that, okay? She's authored Dopamine Nation, an incredible book on addiction. I highly recommend it. She presented to me, because I said this to Dr. Lemke. I said, Dr. Lemke, since getting sober, what's my reward? And she quickly said, Frank, hey guys, real quick, if you're enjoying today's reaction video, be sure to check out the pinned comment or the video description to learn more about our one-on-one addiction recovery coaching programs, or about the recent launch of our Kick It Crave Less chewing gum supplement designed with N-acetylcysteine and KSM-66 ashwagandha to help reduce cravings, promote a state of relaxation, and ultimately help you quit. All right, right back to it. what is the concept of reward? This is really something that's been largely constructed by society. And I see this. I actually see this with the alcohol companies. I see this with tobacco companies. I see this now with cannabis companies, especially alcohol, though, where it's like, oh, you worked hard. You deserve a break. You deserve a reward. Go have a beer. Go have a drink. Go have a smoke. Go spend some money. Go do most rewards. Go do something destructive to yourself. That's what a lot of rewards are in many cases. Now, it's not what Dr. Lemke's point was. Her point was, think about rewards. Think about it in the constructs of how society's created rewards. And then she said, I want you to take away the idea of a reward. What would that do if that reward wasn't there at the end of the day? And I think there's two outcomes to this. Me and Dr. Anna Lemke didn't go this in depth. I think one outcome is could be bad. Someone could lose motivation because it's reward that drives our dopamine system. But two, to Dr. Anna Lemke's point, she said taking out the reward aspect of it actually makes you much more present in the moment. For example, if George had wanted to wrap up this interview and finish this interview so he could get back to the U.S. to smoke weed and just get out of Romania because he can't smoke there, that would actively be taking him out of the present moment because he would be focused on that reward. So I think you need to construct reward systems that are going to benefit you, that aren't going to potentially harm you. And I think you need to think of these rewards just doing a thought experiment, like Dr. Anna Lemke said. If the reward is taking you out of the present moment, that might be dangerous, okay? Now, if you're asking yourself and you're questioning smoking weed, if you're spending time trying to justify it, clearly this isn't your first time having this conversation because you've had it with your father. You're diverting your time and your thought processes into something that it sounds like you don't even really want to be doing at this point in your life anymore, to be honest. But knowing you with that addiction mindset, you're going to keep doing it, even if you don't want to be, right? And this could be weed in your case, George. I'm talking off a riff here. Why are you wasting that energy and that time and that brain power thinking about weed, conversating about weed, when you could just drop it? You said you can comfortably drop it. You said it's not a big deal for you, and move on to further develop your brand, your podcast, your clothing line, whatever, all the millions of projects that you're working on. I don't understand why you would want to divert your attention, that gift of that addiction mindset, into weed smoking, if that, hopefully that makes sense. Of course, what Andrew Tate said, why would you want to turn off your brain? Why would you want to do that when your mind is the only thing you can control? Why would you want to hand the control, the only thing in life you can truly control? Why would you want to put that in the hands of a substance? George, I wanted to comment on this too, or anyone who's thinking about having kids, because I hear this all the time. People say, I'm going to quit when I have children because I'm going to be up late at night with them and this and that and all these things. It's a no-go. And many people do. But there's also a subset of people who continue to smoke or start smoking again after they have kids because they feel they need that escape. They say, I need a break from my kids. I need a break from my family. And if you've spent years training yourself to take a break through the use of cannabis or alcohol or weed or whatever the drug is, there's a high probability that you're eventually going to carry that over into your family life. And I'll tell you, this is the saddest thing in the world, because I work with parents all the time where they miss things. They miss things in their child's development. They miss moments not because they're necessarily out high, but because you're sitting at your kid's sporting event, it's 10 p.m. at night, and you want to get home to smoke. And psychologically, you're going to smoking, and you're not present in that moment. And it's those little moments that these people miss out on that add up to give us a lifetime of experiences, especially when it comes to family and children. So, George, I would encourage you, before that stuff happens, get rid of this now. Figure out a better thing to replace it with. And hey, I bet for you, much like myself, that better thing is going to be content, developing content, improving your content, improving your brand. Just like Andrew Tate said, building your empire. I have a feeling that's what it's going to be for you. but work on that now. Now, I have another point to all this too. I'll throw this out there. George and Logan Paul are obviously two very different people with two very different opinions. So from George's point of view, I would look at Logan Paul and I would say, okay, maybe there's things that he has done successfully. He's very good at marketing. He's made a lot of money for himself. There's no question. But do you want to be like him? So I look at the attributes that people have that I want to be like. And if I were to look at Logan Paul, I don't want to be like him. I don't look up to him. I don't. He smokes weed. He's got a lot of long history with weed, and I think he's actually talked about weed addiction. I've made a video in regard to him and cannabis use and potentially a condition called Cannabinoid Hyperemesis Syndrome. But long story short, if I were George, I would look at Logan and I would say, okay, what things is he doing that I don't want to do? Okay, I want to provide value to my listeners, not just blindly entertain them with stupid stuff. I don't want to smoke weed, right? Because that's something he does. I don't want to be like him, so I'm going to do things more like the people that I want to be like, that I look up to, and clearly that's not a person you look up to. So or you never would have left the show, right? So I just want to throw that out there too. Use that addiction mindset not to practice moderation. Use it to continue to grow the brand of George Janko. And how do you do that? When will you do that? And I have one more thing. Think about relaxing. When are you most relaxed? It's when you're being productive. It's when you're accomplishing things. That's when you feel best. There's nothing good, at least for me, that comes of not accomplishing, not doing. Sitting around, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, I don't feel good about that. Society tells you to relax. Society tells you that's what feels good. But does it? Because if you talk to the people actually doing those things, actually relaxing that way, a lot of them will tell you they feel like crap at the end of it. And that's the note that I'll end on. So, George, if you ever want to have me on your podcast, I'd be honored to come on. And hopefully I wasn't too outlandish on some of my thought processes. Again, never spoke to Andrew Tate, never spoke to George. This is just my reaction as an addiction recovery coach and as someone who smoked weed in a very, very similar fashion for a large portion of my life. I hope this helps out the viewers or George himself if he got the opportunity to watch this. Thanks.